At the start of this project, there were any number of drivers for us. Probably at the heart of it was just the poor quality of our estates, and that was about a range of things. We had too much space, but that space didn't really meet our needs. So from a curriculum perspective, you know, if you were doing a provision in, say, art and design, you could find yourself in multiple different buildings. It didn't give any real sense of feel or ownership around a building, and it was very difficult for us to maximise a student experience. So that was one of the drivers. Probably more significant than that was the sheer quality of the estate. It was failing in many areas. We had multiple issues around asbestos, and we had excessive running costs, partly because of surplus space, and largely because of the fabric of the buildings and their condition. We were spending an inordinate amount on running costs and unplanned maintenance, which was remedial in response to some of those building failures. So we had huge costs, and yet our estate simply wasn't meeting our need.
Before the development programmes, we had the three main campuses at Kings Lynn, Wisbech and Cambridge, along with a number of subsidiary sites which included agricultural facilities and offices. At Kings Lynn and Wisbech, we had a very aged stock, along with the subsidiary sites, with a number of buildings circa 1960s and 70s. Some had seen superficial improvements over time, but in fairness, most of them were in their original form. Nearly all the buildings were poorly insulated and inefficient, and with very aged mechanical and electrical infrastructure. And at the Cambridge campus, most buildings were post-2000. Still, a number of the buildings were poorly insulated, inefficient mechanical and electrical infrastructure. There was also a number of large amounts of space that were being underutilised, compounding these inefficiencies.
We've made significant investments in College Estate in recent years. In fact, in the past 6 years, we've spent something of the order of £50 million on new builds and refurbishing existing buildings. We've largely met the cost of this investment through our own resources. However, we've also been supported by a number of partners, including local authorities, the Old East of England Development Agency, the Skills Funding Agency, and our higher education delivery partner, Anglia Ruskin University. We've also borrowed through the Salix College Energy Fund to fund some very targeted energy efficiency projects.
The building project that or refurbishment that I'm most proud of is actually the building we're in at the moment, Creative Industries building. The building was originally built in conjunction with the Borough Council as a sports centre. The sports centre was then closed, and it saw brief reuse, temporarily housing our library on site when the tower block was decanted and refurbishment. Why do I like it? Well, the reason mainly is because from the outside it looks relatively unchanged, but this belies obviously the internal changes which were made, which now house extensive facilities for media, Springboard TV, performing arts, music and ceramics.
The first carbon management plan was devised through the help of the Carbon Trust through their further education carbon management programme in 2011. We used the 2009-10 financial year as our baseline, and the first plan was from 2010 to 2015. Through reviewing our first carbon management plan, which was to 2015, we realised that we'd exceeded our 30% target by 2015, and it actually achieved 36% carbon reduction in that year. So through that reviewing process and also writing of the second carbon management plan, which is 2015 to 2020, we realised in 2015-16 that we'd actually reached 51%, so a massive 15% reduction in 1 year, and we thought, well, let's go for it and put a really ambitious target for our 2020 target of a 60% reduction. Currently I'm updating our travel plan for the Kings Lynn and Wisbech campuses, also hoping to develop a travel plan for our Cambridge campus. We haven't had a travel plan for that before. I'm also reviewing our waste and recycling strategy, and also our internal procedures to make sure we get best value, but also make sure that we can reduce our waste and also increase our recycling rates as well. Those plans will be put into our carbon management plan, so I'm looking to put in more Scope 3 emissions within our carbon plan, including things such as water, waste, and more so from the travel as well, such as commuting from staff and obviously students as well, which we haven't put in there before, and also set targets from those.
So the improved facilities have had a huge impact on our students and staff. From a really basic level, we're not seeing the disruption which was caused by some of the previous challenges, excesses of heat and cold, leaks in roofs, unavailable facilities, and of course, given the challenge that we got with the fabric of the buildings, it was preventing us from investing in equipment and resources to the level that we'd want. We've come a huge distance from those early days, have now got high quality facilities, but have also been able to invest in equipment and facilities. We're able therefore to provide industry standard experiences for our students, which are really enhancing teaching, learning and assessment. And from a staff perspective, much more the kind of environment that our staff quite rightly would expect to be able to work in. So I think in terms of this journey that we've been on in recent years, I just like to see us continuing that momentum. We've radically cut our carbon footprint. We've done that in a way that makes financial sense of the organisation, but is also making a real statement of intent and purpose in terms of our environmental contribution. There is no reason not to want to continue that work. Some of that will be dependent on our ability to attract external funds to be able to make significant additional changes, but I'm really confident that the work that we've done becomes self-sustainable and that we build on some of our culture of the importance of environmental contribution. Our students, for instance, really get and understand the importance of recycling and have challenged us to make sure that those opportunities are further increased moving forward. So keep the momentum running, keep reducing our carbon footprint, keep reducing our running costs, and continue to enhance the quality of our overall environment for staff and students.